I am a very firm believer in the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I know the best person in the world. That's my friend Luke. Now, whether he's a saint or he's senile, he has given me the opportunity to borrow his 1992 Nissan GT-R for an entire week. And so I've spent the last week driving this as my daily driver. I've taken it to Walmart, I've taken it to the doctor, I've taken it to the grocery store, I've taken it to the racetrack, and had a lot of fun with it. And so today's video is going to be talking about the pitfalls, the shortcomings, and what it's like to live with a JDM car, but also what it's like to live with Godzilla in your garage. So let's start off with the basics. What is a JDM car? Well, they are cars that were only originally sold in the Japanese domestic market. So this car right here is the 1992 Nissan GT-R, and it was only ever sold in Japan, meaning it is right-hand drive. Japan is a right-hand drive country. Here in the United States, you can import a car, any car, as long as it's older than 25 years old. And so we get a lot of really cool Japanese cars after they turn 25. We get different K trucks, K cars, right-hand drive vehicles, all from Japan. What's been interesting in the last couple of years is that we're starting to hit the late 90s and early 2000s, which is when Japan was making a lot of really cool stuff. This car, being in 92, has been legal to import since 2017. And yes, it is perfectly legal after the vehicle's 25 years old to own one and drive one here in the United States, even though the steering wheel is on the wrong side. Now, that does come with some of its own trickiness to it. If you're sitting in a turn lane and you don't have the arrow and you're inching into traffic, you can't really see the oncoming traffic coming this way. So it can be a little bit tricky. Similarly, when you're making a right-hand turn on red and the lane is already turned, you have to look back through the entire car. Similarly, I took this car through a drive-through because here in America, the drive-throughs are always on the left side of the vehicle, and here's how it went.
Today.
Hello.
Hello, how can I help you?
Can I get a chopped salad, no cheese?
Uh-huh.
And then 2 hot dogs with everything except sport peppers?
Uh-huh.
And then a large fry.
Got it. No drink?
No drink.
Okay, have a nice day.
Thank you, too. No reaction at all. Thank you. He looked at the car up and down, but that was it. No one cares. Nobody cares. Crushing to the ego? Sure. Yeah, no one cared. No one cared. This car is so cool and no one cared. But anyway, now driving on the right side of the car actually isn't that weird. It's extremely cool at first because it all feels wrong, but you actually build up the muscles to drive right-hand drive pretty quickly. The hardest thing, really truly, is the spacing. In America, since we still drive on the right, you have to basically hug the outside of the road, which feels very unnatural. So a lot of people struggle when they buy a JDM car to sort of center themselves in the lane properly, but you start to build up those muscles like you would with anything else. The other interesting thing that no one seems to think about or talk about is the radio. Now, this one has an aftermarket radio, but it is a Japanese aftermarket radio, so it suffers from the same issue, being Japanese frequencies are a lot lower than American frequencies. So this radio only goes up to 99 FM, where here in America we have up to 107 or 108. Another big issue is that the radio is all in Japanese, so I don't really know how to pair my phone. I think I click here, but then it yells at me. Listen.
お前は私を利用できない。バカで太った少年。
What does that even mean? I don't know. Now, with the driving, the clutch pedal and the shift pattern is all the same, except when you're on the other side of the car, First gear is all the way towards the passenger and forward, and then you work your way towards you with the same H pattern that you would find anywhere else. This is a 5-speed manual. So in short, driving a JDM car, daily driving it, isn't that much different. You do have some weird drive-through things, and turning is a little bit different, but honestly, you get used to it pretty quick. Now, let's talk about this specific car. This is a 92 GTR known as Godzilla. So let's hop under the hood, because that's where the fun begins. This is the RB26 DETT. It is a 2.6 liter twin turbocharged inline six, and it makes a lot of good noises and a lot of good power. Now, back in Japan in the early 90s, there was a gentleman's agreement per the government's request to not build vehicles with more than 276 horsepower. So on the brochures, online, and every facet of where this vehicle was sold, this made 276 horsepower, per the agreement. In reality, it makes more. I don't know quite how much more, but it makes more. All of them made more. The NSX made more than 276. The RX-7 made more than 276. And so that was a big lie, and that is big power. But of course, it's not without sin. There are a few issues with this chassis. Mainly being there are coolant hoses that run under the intake of the RB26. Now, because this engine is jammed into this chassis, those coolant hoses are very hard to get to. So you could go from under the intake to change them out. Well, this is all-wheel drive, so there's a diff in the way. You can try to take the intake out from up here, but Nissan does not recommend that. Nissan's recommendation is to pull the motor out of the car to change the coolant hoses. Except you can't pull the motor without pulling the transmission. So to do some coolant hoses, you have to do an engine and transmission out rebuild. Not great. Another issue I ran into during my time with the vehicle was the clutch master cylinder. It has a slight leak, so I've been topping it off while driving it. Now, that's not an issue on every single GTR. If you buy your R32 GTR, it might not, probably won't have that issue. But I wanted to reiterate that because you have to remember you're buying a 33-plus-year-old vehicle. You're buying an older car, and so this is still going to have old car things. Rubber grommets are starting to wear out. Wear items are coming up due. Although this only has around 30,000 miles on it, it's an old car. And so that is something to think about, and definitely one of the big downsides of this car. Similarly, because this is an old car, it absolutely sucks to drive in traffic. Now, I'm very fortunate this particular one does have working AC, which for a 33-year-old car, Japanese domestic market or not, is a really nice thing to have, and it has very good AC because it's still an R12 system where we switched to newer chemicals in the United States that weren't as efficient at cooling, so it has a good cooling system. But you're a little car, you're an old car, it has no airbags, no ABS, no traction control, nothing of that sort. And so you are sitting in an old car in traffic. It gets hot, the ride is not great, although this is on Olesen coilovers. It still doesn't ride that nice, and you're gonna lack a lot of modern amenities. Now, that's not a big deal, but these cars fetch big price tags. So for similar price tags, you could get well-optioned Nissan Armadas with massaging seats. But that's not really the point of this car. I will say, driving this car in traffic has been extremely nerve-wracking and probably one of the worst experiences of my life. But there's a bigger reason for that. Driving this car has been a scary experience because I don't want anything to happen to it. Partially, it's not my car, and so I don't want anything to happen to not my car. If something happens to it, I have to call Luke, have to put my tail between my legs and say, hey, something went down, and that's not a fun conversation. But the other thing is that it is an old car, and some of these have gone for 6 figures. And if you think that that price wasn't hovering over my shoulder the entire week that I had this car, you would be lying, because it's not all that I thought about, but a pretty big chunk of it. And so yes, it's an old car. It's rattly. It has parts that probably need to be fixed. Yes, it's expensive, and certainly, yes, it absolutely sucks to drive in traffic. It's about 4 o'clock here in Chicago. I see a whole line of traffic out on the main road. I am not looking forward to driving this home. However, I'm going to let the sun set. I'm going to let the traffic die down, And then I'm going to tell you why this is the best car ever made. And that is not hyperbole. Now, I understand for the purposes of video, filming this at night isn't great. Probably can't see me all that well, but this is where the R32 really comes alive. It's like 11:10 on a Thursday. The streets are open, and this car gets to dance. The avenues and boulevards of my town have become a ballet studio, and the lead ballerina is the R32 skyline. Maybe you can't see much, but this is blissful. It's comfortable. It's familiar. You know, I love the dichotomy of driving down streets freely that I was stuck in gridlock traffic in just several hours ago. There's something poetic about that. A former me could have never dreamed of moving around this quickly down this boulevard with this few cars. And then when I'm feeling third, second. All you hear is turbo, exhaust, and a very quiet pitter-patter of my worries dripping away. Life drips away. It's in the rear view. And I feel so incredibly connected to the car at all times. If I were to look under my seat, I might find an umbilical cord attached to me and it. But I want to do this car justice. I want to give the skyline the flowers it deserves. And so I'm going to switch to voiceover so I can plan my thoughts a little bit better. How can something be the best? Out of the thousands of cars I've driven and tested over the years, why is a little Nissan from an island in the Pacific king of them all? Well, there is no single reason. I've driven faster cars. I've driven better looking cars. I've driven more luxurious cars. That's not the point. The R32 GTR prioritizes driving over everything else. The RB26 delivers smooth power that feels limitless, but not too much. You can have fun, but it won't ever go faster than your brain can process. The steering is direct. You don't have to play a game of telephone through corners, nor does it require obnoxious input to satisfy an apex. The shifter is notchy but forgiving, and both differentials get along with each other like lifelong buddies. The front diff isn't a jealous ex like in other cars, begging for attention that never comes. In a word, this car is balanced. Everything agrees with one another. There's a harmony between parts that can't be constructed during the manufacturing process. While I'm driving this car, it makes me inconceivably happy. I found myself on multiple occasions grinning and giggling, not for the camera, not for an audience, but for me. And what I realized is that I never grew tired of it. I never wanted to stop driving the car. I drive a different car every week. Several different cars a week. After a week of driving a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, it was just another car. The price and elegance had become no more than a Camry or Corolla. But the R32 never lost its shine. It never lost its special feeling, and I don't think that it ever will. I'm not sure that we'll ever see a symphony of steel and rubber like this ever again. And the hardest part of my week
wasn't driving on the other side of the car. It wasn't the worry of price. It wasn't even the 12.97 miles to the gallon that I averaged, which, yes, I did the math. That was the MPG for the week, 12.97. The hardest part of my week with the R32 was the realization that I will be chasing this car with these wheels, these seats, this suspension setup, and this exhaust for the rest of my life.